Welcome to the Columbus Curling Club. We thank you today for your participation and your interest. We want to go over a few important things before we head out onto the ice to enhance your experience and to make sure that you stay safe. We've got 3 priorities today during this Learn to Curl. Our first priority is your safety. We're playing this game on ice, and ice is of course slippery, so we want to make sure that you stay safe. The ice at our club isn't quite as slippery as you would find at a skating rink or frozen in your driveway, because we purposefully walk around and sprinkle drops of water on the ice called pebble. This textures the surface and is actually what allows us to curl stones down the ice. That means it's not quite as slippery as you might be used to. Once we get out there, you'll get a chance to put your feet on the ice and test how slippery it is. And you might be fooled by the pebble into thinking it's not so slick, but once we start walking around and moving, it can be slippery, so we do want you to be careful. We want you to try, of course, to avoid falling, but if you do think you're about to fall, we want you to think of the phrase, "Go turtle." What that means is we want you to tuck in your elbows and tuck in your chin to try to avoid landing on a wrist or an elbow or your head, and instead we want you to aim for your butt or your shoulder. Allow something like that to absorb the impact of your fall. In order to keep you safe, you can make sure that you never run on the ice. You can make sure that you never start or stop suddenly to try to keep your movements gentle to avoid falling. Our second priority is the safety of our ice. We maintain the ice every day, and it takes about 500 volunteer hours to put in the ice in the fall. So it's quite the project. To keep our ice safe, there are a few things that you can do. First, you never have to pick up a stone. The stones are 40 pounds of solid granite, and picking one up might result in a broken foot or a strained back or damage to the ice. The other thing you can do to keep our ice safe is to minimize the contact time of your body with the ice. If you ever are putting a knee down or putting a hand down for stability or to help you get up, that's totally fine. We just ask that you do that quickly enough so that you don't start to melt into the ice. If you do happen to fall while you're out on the ice, our first priority is your safety. So we do want to make sure that you are okay. If you feel safe enough and able enough to move, however, we ask that you get off the ice quickly enough, again, so you don't start to melt into the ice. Our third priority today is for you to have fun. It's a great game, and we're excited that you're here to share it with us. In curling, we don't do a lot of trash talking. We acknowledge and congratulate our opponents on good shots, and we call our own fouls. It's a game of good sportsmanship and camaraderie. After each game, the winners buy the losers the first round of drinks in the warm room, and the losers buy the winners the second round of drinks in the warm room. Now let's talk about some vocabulary so you know what we're talking about when we're out there on the ice. There are a few pieces of equipment that we want to talk about. The first is a stone. Again, the stones are 40 pounds of granite, and they are what we will be sliding down one end of the playing surface to the other. The curling playing surface is called a sheet. Like a baseball diamond or like a bowling lane, it's the area that we play the game. A sheet of ice is about 140 feet from backline to backline. There are edges on the sides, and there are certain areas in the middle that we avoid for play that we'll talk about in a second. Each player has a broom that they can use to sweep the ice. This is used to take a stone farther or to help it curl less, and you will learn how to do this when we're on the ice. Your shoes hopefully already have a gripper on them. We have more in the warm room that you can add if needed. That's to give you some traction when you're on the ice. A slider is what you'll step onto to make sure that you're able to move and deliver and push the stone down the ice. You will throw 2 different types of shots during a curling game. The first is called a draw. This is a finesse shot where the rock or the stone will stop somewhere in play all on its own. The second type of shot is called a takeout. This is a fast-moving stone whose job is to hit other stones out of play. If you are a sweeper, when a takeout is called, this is a particularly important time to pay attention to safety. Rocks might be moving all around the house, maybe near your feet. and it's best practice to just stand back and let things happen so you don't get hit and potentially fall over. The last piece of vocabulary we want to talk about is called the 3 H's, the 3 H words we have for curling. The first is the house. If you look out the windows here, you'll be able to see colored circles at each end of a sheet. These are called the house, and they act as a target as we throw stones down each sheet. In order to be counted for scoring, a rock has to be touching, at least partially, the house on the far end. The very center of the house is called the button, and stones closer to the button are the ones that get counted for scoring. You'll see examples of this when we talk about scoring later on the on-ice portion. The second H word is called the hog line. You can see a thick line about 15 feet in front of each house. That's the hog line. They're important for 2 reasons. The first reason is for a stone to be in play, it has to fully cross the hog line on the far end of the ice. So once you release the stone, it travels down the sheet, it has to completely cross the hog line on the far end. The second reason it's important is you have to release the stone before it touches the near hog line. The last H word is called the hack. You can see these rubber starting blocks on each end of a sheet. They look almost like runner's blocks, and this is what sliders will push out of when they deliver a stone. The particular mechanics of delivery and which hack you will use will be talked about by your instructors in the on-ice portion. That concludes the off-ice portion of our instruction today. We're excited to get out there and start curling, so let's go.